Welcome to the Franchise Empire newsletter live stream. Today, we're going to talk about a few things. Number one is we're going to talk about a unique resale showing $260,000 in seller discretionary earnings. If you don't know what SDE, seller discretionary earnings, means, we'll cover that later on in the video. We'll talk about Culver's. If you guys have ever heard of Culver's franchise or ever been there, eaten there, I actually don't think I've ever eaten there. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about how much it costs to get them open, the average sales, some of those good things with that franchise. We'll talk about one of our clients who recently bought a franchise, as well as some other good stuff. And if you're new here, my name is Tarek Johnson. I am the CEO and founder of Franchise Empire, and I'm here with our head of brokerage, Mr. Mark Magerman. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Tarek.
So we're going to speed through today because I've got someone coming here in a little bit to look at my HVAC unit. Should have done the HVAC franchise in the.
I was going to say, is it a franchise that's coming to do your service? Did you hire a franchise?
Not this one. There was one that came on Saturday, and the guy screwed it up. It was all the tech's fault. He had no idea what he was doing.
The franchise was the first guy was a franchise tech.
Yeah, but it was just the guy. He seemed to be confused. So,
got it.
Yeah. Okay, let's dive. But it was a quality franchise actually that we've covered, and that I know the average sales are very high.
I always try, if I need service providing done, I always try to call the local franchise owner first. I always try to do that.
Nice. Yeah, I like
But like anything else, they've got to run a good business. If they're not going to give you good service and show up on time, you can't keep them, right? So that goes back to the same conversation about being a good franchise owner. You got to do the job. No one's obligated to use you.
Yeah, he was great. He was friendly. He showed up on time, all that good stuff. He just didn't really seem to know what he was doing.
It's a little bit of a problem.
A little bit. All right, y'all. Let's do this. Newsletter at the bottom. If you guys don't get the email to this every Sunday, you can get it at franchiseempire.com/newsletter. Let's talk about this resale first. And as usual, we've been keeping it confidential. So this is confidential. It's in East Central Georgia. If you live in Georgia, you'll know where East Central Georgia is. And it's a very unique home services franchise in terms of the work that they do. We've never actually covered a brand like the work that they do. And if we told it, it would give it away. So we're not going to tell it. If you're actually interested in this specific resale because you're in that area, then reach out and we're happy to tell you exactly what it is, the brand, all that good stuff. They started in 2022. They have 3 employees in place. They are ranked in the top 15 revenue producing units system wide. The asking price is $650,000, and it includes 3 wrap trucks, 1 trailer, and some inventory. The annual revenue was just shy of $1 million, $998,000. Man, like I probably would have just charged myself an extra $2,000 just to hit. Like ran my card just so I could say I hit $1 million.
$2,000. It would only had to be a little over $1,000, $1,041 to be exact. I would have done the same thing.
Instead, you got a 6-figure business or multiple 6 figures, not a 7. But they did have SDE, which stands for seller discretionary earnings of $260,000. And if you guys aren't familiar with what that term means overall, I'll give you a very simple example that won't cover it all. But let's say that the owner of the business is paying his kid and paying the kid $30,000 a year to do miscellaneous stuff. It probably doesn't need to be paying them $30,000 a year. They're going to roll that back into, add that back on top of the profits and say, that's the seller discretionary earning, any other personal expenses that they're paying. It's basically all of those add backs into the business, along with if they're selling it as like an owner operator model, but there's a manager in place. Let's say they're paying the manager $7,500 a year. They'll roll that back in. Mark, how would you explain SDE?
Yeah, again, I would say that if you have to explain SDE, you're probably not qualified to buy a resale business, to be honest with you. Because again, these resale businesses are not meant for entry level first time buyers. So, but that being said, I wasn't being facetious. There's a lot of funky ways people report their SDE. So you got to make sure you know it. You got to make sure you have a very good accountant working for you who can kind of go through and ask those questions. Sometimes SDE is not really, sometimes seller discretionary income isn't really seller discretionary income. It's why these resales are very interesting, but no slam dunks, and you got to do a lot of work on them. But, typically owner's income, owner's salary, and any type of expense that isn't required to run the day-to-day business will be considered discretionary income. But again, the pause there, again, we had lots of people, Tarek, as you know, who sometimes say, I'm going to only want to buy a resale because I have to replace my income from my W-2. That $260,000, for all you know, includes no debt service, right? Maybe they have no debt on the business. But if you as an owner need to take debt on that business, it's going to come out of that $260,000 that's discretionary. So it's really hard to know what that means, which is why you really owe it to yourself to do a thorough analysis financially. And again, as I say every week, please be financially qualified so you can buy this business. So that way you'll have more, the seller will have more incentive to work with you on answering a lot of these questions.
Yep, 100%. And what's interesting about this, they 50% seller financing available. Now, you never know what the terms are for that. Usually seller financing has a shorter terms. It's usually for like 3 or 5 years. Actually, sometimes like only 2 or 3 years. So in those instances, you're better off just wrapping it in an SBA loan because then your payments are off of 10 years instead of 2 or 3. But either way, interesting, unique concept. And if you're in that area, go to franchiseempire.com/resales.
I know we're going quickly here, but I would also say that seller's financing, I think, is a very important component because, again, if you're buying a business from somebody who's selling it and you want that seller to have some skin in the game as you buy it, seller's financing is a great way to do that because that means that you'll be paying them over time. It's essentially the same. It would be the same thing as if they stayed on and worked for free for you for 6 months side by side, right? You'd be getting a value from that seller. But I would never buy a resale business if there was no component of seller financing. I think someone selling a resale business who's not willing to put any financing on the table to the seller is a huge red flag to me.
That's interesting. I disagree. I would, if I was, when I sold my stores, there was no chance I was seller financing a dime of it. I want to be done with the business. I want all my money and don't ever talk to me again.
Yeah, no, fair enough. When we sold our Five Guys business, we had to take 10% of the deal and put it in escrow. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's not seller financing, but it's the same thing, which what they were saying was, hey, if everything that you're saying to us is true, you got no problems. But if we find something wrong, it's on you. So I would agree with you. As a seller, I would hate to give seller financing, but as a buyer, I wouldn't buy it without it. So I think we're saying the same thing. I would say I'm not going to put any seller financing. That if I was buying your business and you said that to me, I would say, thanks, I'm not interested. I'd walk away.
Yeah. See, that's why Mark is, that's why we make an entertaining duo, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So
I don't have business to sell now, so I have nothing. I got wood in my pocket.
Our overall take, solid opportunity to take over a business with the team in place. I mean, a business that's already doing $998,000 in revenue. That's pretty cool. You really don't see many opportunities that are showing multiple 6 figures in SDE. Again, the devil's in the details there. Like Mark said, people will roll things into SDE that shouldn't even be in there. They figure out very creative ways to pump the number. So with any and all resales, the proof is always in the pudding in terms of the details and the due diligence that you do. We have all sorts of resources around that, particularly in our modules that we provide our clients that teach you how to do that. We also have a list of over 100 resales with various brands spanning the United States and Canada. So if you want to inquire and see if we have any available in your specific area, you go to franchiseempire.com/resales, and you'll be able to set up a free call with our team to have a conversation on what, if anything, is available in your market. Did you work with Alan, or is that someone else on the team?
That was me, Alan.
Cool. Do you want to just give a quick run through on what it was like to work with him and his situation?
Sure. Actually, what's really cool about Alan, and we're not giving his last name, which is fine, but I didn't even know until he had signed his deal. We'd known each other for 4 or 5 months, that he's a former NFL football player. Very humble guy. I know that if I was a former NFL football player, I probably would have told everybody in the world I used to play. So not that it mattered. Very, very smart guy, but also obviously very good enough to play in the NFL for several seasons. But he runs a very successful real estate holding company in Michigan, but he lives in the Houston area. Growing, he's got a family, he's got a wife, a couple of kids, very bright guy, trying to find something else to augment his real estate business. And ideally, he wanted to find something in Michigan, because he had a partner who was his cousin who he also wanted to get involved in the business. So he came through us, through some of the content that Tarek does, looking to find that opportunity. I can't scroll down here, I don't believe, since Tarek owns the screen here. But what I will say about it is he found a really excellent home service franchise that's up and running.
It's been turning on and off.
Tarek's going to have to mute his phone.
Another company came out on Saturday. The guy tested all the wires, so he verified it wasn't the wiring of the thermostat.
Apologize for listening to Tarek talk to the person who came to his home. But the bottom line is Alan was able to find a really popular franchise brand in the home service category. He ultimately invested in 4 territories, so he owns the entire county, and he and his partner are going to be starting on their franchise business in the next couple of months. And he couldn't be happier. So we're really thrilled for Alan. Very successful guy. We think he's going to do really, really well with the franchise. And like I said, sorry about the background noise. I'm positive Tarek doesn't know that he didn't mute his phone.
Yeah, but that's not enough to shut down the whole thing for like a day, right?
It depends on how, as you were saying, the parallel slot. Depends on how.
Got it. Okay.
So while we're kind of on hold here, sorry. Tarek, I'm not sure if you can hear me. You might want to.
That's what one has an issue.
Oh, you have 2? How many each now?
We have 2, one for upstairs, one for downstairs.
Okay.
The upstairs one is fine,
Okay, now.
but the handlers are all in attic. Yep.
Okay, now it's a little quieter. I just wanted to kind of go back to the resale topic again. Please understand that buying the wrong reason, in my opinion, for buying a resale business is because you need to make up what your W-2 is, and you need to find the same business that's going to pull the same amount of money out of the business as your W-2 does. It's really not the way to look at these businesses at all, because as an owner, your compensation is always what's left over.
Yeah.
You don't pay yourself first as an owner, you pay yourself last. So again, these resale businesses should not necessarily be invested in as a W-2 replacement. They should be invested in to build long-term and scalable growth over time. And if you do it correctly, you'll ultimately end up with a lot more compensation than you had at your W-2 position. But looking at it as a replacement is fraught with potential. Tarek, I'm pretty sure you didn't realize you weren't on mute, so we couldn't really go that far because we got a good overview of the conversation you had with your team. And I was trying to add commentary in between the gap, so I don't think this is going to be one of our award-winning newsletters today.
The mute didn't work. I had hit mute.
Well, no, your mute didn't work. Mine essentially did because I couldn't speak because we couldn't get any. We were listening to your conversation, all funny stuff.
Oh, that's so weird. I hit mute. I'm so surprised it didn't work. Interesting.
I'm just going to say this probably won't be the award-winning newsletter performance that we. But I covered Allen, and then I kind of went back and talked a little bit more about resale opportunities. So you can scroll, you can keep going.
All right, cool. And we'll still get through the rest of this quickly because I think this gentleman's going to need me again in a little bit. All right, so we're going to hit on Culver's. Culver's was back in 1984. Craig and Leah, along with Craig's parents, took over an old A&W root beer stand in Wisconsin. And they didn't try to reinvent fast food. They just wanted to serve the food they loved the most: butter, burgers, and fresh frozen custard. Have you ever had Culver's, Mark?
I have not.
Me either. I don't even know what a butter burger is.
I don't either. I don't think there's any Culver's up in my neck of the woods. I don't think I've ever seen one. But if I did, I would just want to know what if a butter burger means melting butter on top of your burgers. Sign me up. I'm in.
Right? I know I made steak last night. I definitely on the grill and then finished it off with some butter on top.
I mean, butter, you could put butter on anything. What's the downside?
Yeah, right.
Other than coronate arteries.
That's funny. So the burgers were so fresh that Craig actually used an ice cream scoop to portion the beef. Interesting. People loved it. Lines formed by 1990. They franchised their first location in Baraboo, Wisconsin. Interesting. Soon after, they crossed lines into Minnesota, and what started as one small town shop turned into a Midwest phenomenon. Now they have over 1,000 locations, but the brand still runs like a family business. Wow. Interesting. Starting back in 1984 is not, I thought they would have been around for longer too, actually, because some of these brands have been around for a really long time. Let's talk about some of the numbers. 935 franchise units, total investment, 2.6 million to 8.5 million, 4% royalty, 2.5% marketing fees. But this is one of those franchises where you better have a lot of money, because there's a $500,000 minimum cash contribution, which makes sense when you're talking about a minimum total investment of $2.6 million. And or if you're going to own the real estate, you need $750,000 of an equity injection. They don't list the minimum net worth requirement, but if you could pretty well say it's somewhere between 2.5 to 5 million, probably is what I would guess if I had to. What are your thoughts on that, Mark?
I think you're exactly right. And more than likely, a franchise buyer here would be representative of a franchise group with a couple of investors. This really probably wouldn't be one person, unless it's a multimillionaire who is just, who has a team of people and they're investing. But this would probably, again, we go back to, this is exactly kind of the investment range that when we got involved in our brand all those years ago, and we had 4 partners. So yeah, it sounds like 2.6 million. That sounds like a ton of money, which of course it is. But if you only come up with your 25% share of it, it's a little different. So my guess is that that's the majority of the groups who are part of this program.
Yeah, that makes sense. And no one's really coming into these to own one, right?
Right. That's the other thing. That's why the 8.5 million is probably in there. That probably is what you have to invest in to get 3 or 4 running.
Yeah, interesting. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about some of the numbers real quick, and then we'll wrap up. But you can see here, they show it pretty transparently, which is pretty cool. So the lowest performing location does 1.18 million. Let's see if I can get this page marker down. There we go. Highlight. Let's do yellow. 1.8 million for the lowest performing location. Average just 3.79 million. And the highest location does 8.7 million in sales. I mean, from a 2-to-1 sales to investment ratio, that's again, all these big food places, the same ones. It's very hard. It's not even close to a 2-to-1 sales to investment ratio, with the lowest end being 2.6, probably closer to 1-to-1. And this is why with any of these kind kind of brands or options, this is why people don't just own one. They own 5, 10, 15, 20.
Yeah, no question. But what's interesting is if I'm reading this right, that the average sales of the unit is 3.7. Am I reading that right?
Yeah.
So I'll be honest with you. The average Five Guys did $1.2 million. Average.
Yeah, but it was what, 800,000, 900,000 to get open.
Right. So my point is, the sales here is much higher for the same investment.
No, not the same. The investment minimum investment is 2.6 million for one location.
Okay, fair enough. If it costs 2.6 million to build one, then that's what you're saying. If it's going to cost 2.6 billion, it's almost the same model as a Five Guys, right?
Yeah,
3 times higher sales and 3 times the investment. But I guess I'm shocked that it's a $3.8 million average sales unit volume. That's very surprising to me for what's essentially a quick serve type business.
Yeah. I know Raising Cane's has some crazy numbers too. They, I think, are the second behind Chick-fil-A. Their average sales are like 5 million.
Chick-fil-A is another animal altogether, which is just insane. But 3.8 million. So again, I would, when I look at, 2.5 million to get one open, I'm like, that's really unattractive. But if the average sales volumes are 3.8 million, and then you get economies of scale after opening 3 or 4, that makes a lot more sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Let's see. We still have the resale thing up and running. If you guys are thinking, wow, that's fascinating, but I don't have, let's see, 2.6 to $8.5 million to open up this sort of franchise, and you're wondering what are some ones that cost a fraction of that, maybe match my skill sets, then we can help you with that. You go to franchiseempire.com/check territory, and we'd be able to see, hey, what are some lower cost opportunities that have a nice ROI potential that are available in your market. Actually, what's interesting is clients that we worked with a while ago, Mark, they were going to open a multi-unit, I think it was it was a coffee brand. It was going to be a lot of money. They were looking at doing a 3-pack deal and wanted to look at some other options before committing to it. And they wind up getting in touch with us, and they wind up doing one of the fire and water restoration brands instead, and felt a lot better about that.
The other thing I say about food, and it was one of the catalysts is why we ultimately got out of it, is the other beautiful thing about franchising that we don't talk about as often as we probably should, is that it gives you an option as an owner to invest in the kind of business that you want that folds into your lifestyle, right? Like maybe for your whole corporate life, you have to work, weekends and travel all the time. You've been away from your family, and now you want to find a brand that you only have to work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And it's more of a lifestyle play as well as a profitable play. But that's one of the things about the restaurant business, that there's no lifestyle in restaurants unless you enjoy spending 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year within that restaurant, then you've got a great life. But again, they're really hard businesses to run. And I think that's one of the reasons why we find so many people are finding these service related businesses are just much more appealing, because you can get a lifestyle out of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, it wasn't something that I did not think about it much at that time when we signed our franchise agreement. Granted, I was 10 years younger. I'd like to think I'm 10 years wiser at this point. And I just hadn't considered the fact that we were buying into a business that was 363 days a year. We were only closed on Christmas and Thanksgiving. And it takes a toll, especially even if, at one point I wasn't in the store every day, but the store was still open every day. And having a business is like having a kid. You're kind of like always thinking about them in the back of your head. And so it didn't really matter where we were, what we were doing. I'm still thinking about our labor cost. I'm still thinking about our sales. And if an emergency or something happened, they're calling me, no matter if it's 9 o'clock at night when the store is closing, or if 3 o'clock in the morning when someone smashed and broke our window and dragged our safe out of the store, which really did happen. So yeah, other businesses that aren't open every single day of the year can definitely provide a better quality of life.
Yeah, and on top of that, like you did, we had, I had a director of operations who was responsible for all the day-to-day running of the business. But as an owner, to your point, you have to support that person, right? You can't just say, here's the keys to the business. Never call me for any reason ever, because that's never going to work. So again, these are good businesses, but they are not necessarily conducive to quality of life experiences. So anyway, enough said.
Yeah, 100%. All right, y'all. Let's see. We're not going to go over all of that jazz. By the way, if let's see, which screen do I want to share here? I'm going to drop you guys a link in a second so that if you missed the email, that you can go and pull up this whole newsletter if you want to read through all the details of it. But on our most recent episode of the Zero to Profitable Franchise podcast, which we post the videos to the Franchise Empire YouTube channel, we covered Dunkin' Donuts. So we covered Dunkin' Donuts, and we covered their cost and their sales and their fees, similar to how we covered Culver's, but in a more production, well-produced format, actually like an edited video, so on and so forth, not just us just kind of chatting through it. And then we also had another video go live, as well as podcast episodes. Should you start a business, buy a business, or buy a franchise? It's a really thorough take. Sitting down with Mark and Chris, this is one of the first ones that we did from our studio session, Mark, that we're posting. So go check that out, guys. I wanted to drop you guys the link real quick before we rock and roll. So let me stop sharing, and I'll post it right here. So if you did not get the email and you wanted to check out that entire article and blog post, you can check it out there. With that said, that's a wrap. Anything else, Mark?
No, that's good. Hope the HVAC guy gets you up and running.
Yeah, me too. It's hot here.
Thanks.
All right, take care. Bye.